another vlog here on the Cello Doll YouTube channel. This is a part 2 to a previous video I had released for beginners with the bow. Well, guess what? You're gonna get some more tips today. And if you haven't seen part 1, I highly recommend checking it out. Just kind of showing you how things interconnect. And of course, giving you the tools you need to succeed in your practice room. Before I get to 3 more common mistakes and how to fix them, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up, a like, and subscribe to the Cello Doll YouTube channel. If you want to go above and beyond, I am on Patreon, where you can get exclusive monthly content. So the reason I wanted to break this up into 2 parts was so I could give you a small quantity of tips to really focus on in your practice room. So you got 3 tips in the last video, you're gonna get 3 more today in this one, and let's jump right in. Now going onward to bow mistake number 4 is using too little of a bow. Using a small bow will give you a smaller sound. Now, there are gonna be times in your cello learning journey where you are going to use small bows, playing a passage that is marked piano or softly, but we don't want that to be your default. After all, you are playing the cello, a beautiful, gorgeous singing instrument. So I challenge you to have a goal in your practice routine where you are using full bows. A great way to do that is in your warm-up with your scales, if you do open string work, which I have some videos on if you want some guidance for those warm-ups. Try to get all the way from the frog to the tip. If it's a comfort issue where you feel tension as you pull the bow, it might be because you are not opening up in the elbow hinge. We talked about the elbow hinge in part 1. So as you draw the bow and you get past the halfway point, you open up in the elbow hinge, just like this. If you try to keep the elbow in its bent position, it's going to give you a slightly crooked bow, and also it's just not as comfortable to allow your arm to expand and open up, just like this. Also, since we're talking about sound and the length of your bow, I'm going to give you a quick side tip on bow speed. If you have slow bows and they're tiny, your sound is going to sound tight. You hear that? Sounds a little squishy and nasally. Let's open it up. Use more speed. And you can hear a difference. So going on to mistake number 5, we have starting at the frog and being stuck at the frog. Now again, playing at the frog is not a bad thing, but we want to have control over when we use this part of the bow. If you constantly start at the frog for your down bows, you have one direction that you can go and you don't have any space this way. Now that can lead to quite a few problems. If I start right at the frog and I go my one direction, I start down and I have a long 2, 3, 4, I'm straining to fit in a long up bow. My tone gets small and tight. It doesn't sound very nice. And that's because I limited my bow use on one side. So this is very crucial for your physical comfort of playing as well as your tone quality. Again, pick something in your practice routine where you say, I'm gonna start at the middle. I'm gonna start at the upper half. If you want a Cello Doll challenge, try starting your scales up bow at the tip for a week. So you get really used to playing at the tip and it doesn't seem so much like foreign territory. And then go a little bit lower in the bow another week and then somewhere in the middle. And you'll get comfortable starting in all parts of the bow. Now, when I play the cello and I have a big down bow on a low string and it's forte. Of course, I'm going to start at the frog because that's where your weight powerhouse is. This is where your hand has the closest contact to the string. So that's why it's our comfort zone and we want to play there a lot when we first start. However, even when I'm starting from the frog, it's usually maybe in the first 15%, not directly at the frog. So after all of this chit chat about the frog, I really hope I convinced you to not want to start there every single time you play something. And now for our last common mistake and remedy, we have string invasion. Does this ever happen to you? So a quick answer to why this happens, sometimes we're going along and our arm dips when we don't want it to, or we want to cross back and we over jump and we get the higher string, and you need to do some detective work in your practice room to figure out your specific cause for why extra strings are sounding. I commonly see it in the second half of the bow, the upper half, and the arm dips entirely down. Now you'll remember in part 1, I talk about the value of a low elbow. Super valuable, super helpful, but everyone's low elbow is going to be different depending on your arm length and your torso length, and everyone's body is different. You can have that low elbow we talked about, but it doesn't have to dip anymore as you draw the bow. Once you have a good low elbow to start, you maintain that, and now we can just open up horizontally through the elbow. Once I set my elbow, it doesn't have to do any extra bouncing or dancing as I pull along the bow. Additionally, make sure you have that perky wrist we talked about in part 1. If your wrist is drooping, that will cause the hair to do unusual things. You see how it's turning out right now, and you can maybe dip a little bit in the wrist. So it can also be the wrist not having its soft but perky shape. Again, nothing tight and super pointed, but we do want a little curve. If you're getting a higher string, it can be the opposite problem, where we're drawing the note and our elbow and shoulder creep up and we get a higher string. If you're doing a string crossing, then I went too far on that side. You can make a string crossing by tilting your wrist. You see this? You don't need to get the whole arm involved just to go to the next string. So you can do what I'm doing now in your practice room: C to G, C to G, G to D, G to D, D to A, D to A. And you can do these little rocking motions to see how close the strings actually are and how little movement we need to get to a neighboring string. The next step can be smaller bows. So we went from the rocking motion to adding a little horizontal, and you open up, so you do, and then even more. Okay, so we are really testing out how close our strings are in relation to one another. So hopefully you can avoid hitting that higher string. All right, my dolls, now you have 3 more tools in your toolbox to go work on and to combat those frequently made mistakes with the bow. I hope you found these tips helpful. Again, as always, if you have a question, leave a comment below. Shelly and I will do our best to help you out and get back to you when we can. And thank you for your support and watching this video. And lastly, I gotta say it one more time, please don't forget to subscribe to the Cello Doll channel. It's a fantastic way to show your support for my cello content. And Shelly and I will see you in the next video. Happy practicing. Bye-bye.